Well, hello again everybody, and today we've got another unboxing video. So I'm not going to give you any clues what's in here. So let's see what it is. Now I'm sorry I've not seen any of you for a while. As you can tell, I've not been making videos, and I have to say I probably will be making less videos in the future because I'm very busy at work at the moment, which I guess is a good thing, but there's, unfortunately just not enough hours in the day to do everything. Oh, come on. Big tug. Come on, get out, you bugger. Oh, there we go. Can anybody guess what that is? Definitely a thing of beauty, isn't it? So what we've got here is, I think you call it a Ahoooooooooga. It's a horn, and it's a horn for a vintage car. So I've been doing a little bit of work on my Chevy recently, and it's got, the normal kind of, what do you call it, like a buzzer type horn on it, a magnetic coil which just resonates backwards and forwards and makes a horrible screeching noise. Well, they packed in on my car, and I wanted to put on something a little bit more distinctive. So what I did is I went on eBay and I found this, and well, in theory it's going to make that very distinctive, is it, a Ahoooooooooga noise that you might have heard on old cars. So we've got a label on here, and let's see if I can bring you in. I can only just read it. Let me see, I can't really see that myself. Let's zoom in, let's see what we can get. So it says we've got a Lucas, and it's a Spartan klaxon or a Spartan horn, and it says, let's have a look at it, it says Joseph Lucas Limited. I never knew that. I mean, in the UK the Lucas name is, it's quite famous. They used to make a lot of parts for Lucas. I'm going to say like a lot of the British cars had Lucas electrics on them, flash units and lights and bulbs and switches and voltage regulators. If you bought a car in Britain, you could absolutely bet it was full of Lucas gear. But I didn't know that they were called Joseph Lucas, so that's new to me. And this is manufactured in Birmingham in England, so yeah, it's UK made back in the day. It's got some instructions there. It says something like oil with something, I don't know, it says light oil and clean communicator every 2 months. It's got a number on it which is I don't know, number 330, and it says it's 6 volts. So we've got another little badge on here, and it looks like it might be a lion, I'm not exactly sure, but I think it says King George of the Road. Again, that's really pretty. That's really interesting. Nicely done. So I guess what you all want to see is you want to see the money shot, don't you? And I've got to admit, so do I. I actually want to know if this thing works. So I'm assuming that these things here, I see, are they the terminals? Yeah, they are. That's interesting. The terminals on this thing are, well, the kind of spring loaded. It looks as though we push some wires through here and they self grip. That's quite a nice little feature. I wasn't expecting that. Unusual. Hopefully you can see that. So we've got these little spring loaded terminals here. Let's see if I can just find a piece of wire, and I say I've never seen one of these horns before, so this is all the first for me. So let's just go ahead and strip a couple of pieces of wire. I don't actually know if this thing works. I'll have to try it. Now, I don't know if I explained earlier. So I bought this horn, this Ahoooooooooga horn, and I bought it to go on my Chevy. Now, it's not really the correct age for my Chevy. My Chevy truck is a 1953 model, and I suspect that this thing is probably from the 1930s. So we haven't exactly got the age of this thing right. But the reason I've gone ahead is just because I thought it was fun. I thought it would be interesting, a bit of a laugh, to go down the road and toot my Ahoooooooooga horn at people. So let's try these connections on here. I don't think it matters which one's positive or negative. I haven't seen any symbols on here, so there's one wire. And can we get the other one in? Come on, get in. There we go. So that's very quick and easy to install, isn't it? None of this fiddling around with crimps or nuts and bolts. We just stick some wires in. Now, I said earlier, it's got a 6-volt label on it, this. Because back in the day, most cars weren't 12 volt. They were actually 6 volt. And in fact, I think they continued in America with 6 volt cars for much longer than we did in the UK. But this says 6 volts on it, which is going to be maybe a little bit of a problem for my Chevy, because my Chevy truck is 12 volt, so we're probably going to have to build some kind of regulator or something just to drop the voltage a little bit. And what do we want? We said we want 6 volts, don't we? 6 volts. Okay, 6. Yeah, near enough. What's our current limit on? I think we'll go for 3 amps. I don't know how much current this will draw. We'll have to find out. Right, switch that on. So let's put the negative connection on first. This may do absolutely nothing, because the guy I bought it off, he said he didn't know if it worked or not, so you know, it might not do a thing. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a sock in it. Well, it's not actually a sock. It's a glove. It's a furry glove. Let's stuff that down there, because I have been warned. Right, are we ready? Fair warning to those wearing earphones. If it blows your ears off, I will just laugh. So there we go. Here we go. Yeah, we got nothing. So that's drawing 2 amps. I can't see it being polarised. Let's try it the other way. Right, okay. So my power supply is current limiting. I'm just trying to see, does it actually tell you what the current is here? No, it doesn't. Wonder what that does. Anybody know what that does? Let's try it again. Oh, there's something happening there. I've got no idea what this. Maybe I should try and find some instructions for it. Right, so something is spinning. I think it tried to make a noise then, didn't it? Should we give it one more go? Don't really want to burn the motor out in this. I mean, I suppose it's a horn. These things aren't meant to be run forever. Okay, so that isn't working. Now, I don't know if it's not working because there's something wrong with it, but when I was looking at the power supply, it's current limiting and it's actually dropping down to 3 volts. No, so that's not working, is it? It's just current limiting. But I think we might need a little bit more current, so let's choose a Big Bertha here. Now, Big Bertha can actually deliver 20 amps if she needs to, but I don't think we want to deliver 20 amps. So 6 volts. And what current are we set to? No, we're set to 20 amps. Don't think we want 20 amps. Let's set it to 5. That should be more than enough, shouldn't it? And have another go. Well, that sounded better. Didn't get any Ahoooooooooga noise though, did we? I get the impression it's trying to do something. Am I imagining it? I don't know if that's actually doing anything. Kind of got a bit of a problem here that I don't actually know what I'm doing. So that's never a good sign, is it? So if in doubt, let's just unscrew something. Oh, I bet you guys want to have a look in here. So this is a DC motor, but I'm not exactly sure what you would call this type of DC motor. And the reason I say I'm not sure is because normally when I've played with DC motors in the past, they've got permanent magnets installed on the, do you call that the stator? Normally you have permanent magnets on the stator, but this one has clearly got coils on it. It's got windings on it. So rather than being you know, permanent magnets, these are obviously some form of electromagnet, and they do look a little bit cruddy inside. In fact, they're bits of goo on my hand there. But obviously that spins round as a motor should do. We've got some carbon brushes on the back end which rub against the. I'm trying to think back in my day when I did power electronics. Not really played that much more. As they call that, that's the armature, isn't it? Is that the communicator? The things with like the slip ring. Well, they're not slip rings, are they? Don't know what you call that. It's not. Is that a rotor? The rotor here, the thing that spins round. So obviously we've got a coil of wire around there, and that's being connected via these brushes. But we've got also these two magnetising coils here, which would, I guess, they would fill the place of permanent magnets. Now it could be that back in the day when they actually built this thing, they weren't very good at manufacturing permanent magnets because, well, the reality is they weren't very good at making permanent magnets back in the day. It was maybe cheaper and easier for them, rather than to put permanent magnets on here, to use electromagnets. Now I'm totally guessing here, I've got no idea, I'm guessing. Now I've never actually opened one of these before, but the way I think it works is this. So you've got this electric motor here which spins round, and then you can see this round section in here. Well, if you unbolt this cover, you will find a diaphragm, and that diaphragm has got a little pip, it's got a little tit, a little nipple sticking out on it. And on the end of the motor shaft here there's a little arm, and what the arm does, it spins round and it smacks the back of the nipple, and it causes this diaphragm which is inside here. You can't see down there, can you? Can I get your light on it? Can I get that lined up? Trying to put some light on it. It's very dark down there, sorry, you can't see down there. But basically the motor spins round and it smacks the back of the diaphragm, and it makes this resonant sound, and then the horn here kind of amplifies it and makes it come out. So as far as I understand this, so this adjustment I was playing with here, when I press this forward, what it actually does is it moves the little arm closer to the nipple on the back of the diaphragm, and it makes it smack it, and at the moment it's not making a sound, so I suspect that it's not adjusted. So this is the adjustment, and I think that was acting on here before. Oh yeah, I can see that. So we had this square shape here, which obviously fitted around this square nut. So I think what we've got to do is we've got to actually adjust this up a bit, so which moves the motor forward. So now we've done that, let's have another go. No, nothing. Should we go a bit more? We got something then, didn't we? Ah, right, okay. So it stopped working because it seems as though it's very temperamental here. I think I've adjusted that a little bit too far. Let's go back a little bit. Let's try that. There's the secret sauce. So we've got to get those adjusted just right, obviously. But we've got a horn there, haven't we? So what I think we'll have to do is we're going to have to clean all this up, and the other thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to make a voltage regulator. So let's just see how much current we're drawing at 6 volts. So it looks like we're taking about 4 amps. So I think we might use a little bit more at startup. So I think we're going to have to build something which will drop from 12 volts to 6 volts and probably have a, you know, kind of a throughput of around 5 amps. So to make this thing run from my 12 volt car battery, which is 12 volts, we're going to have to drop 6. And let's say we said 5 amps, which is, I don't know, so what's that? A voltage drop at 6 at 5 amps is simply 6 times 5, which is 30 watts. So our regulator has to be capable of passing 30 watts. Now I'm guessing on the plus side, it doesn't have to be capable of passing 30 watts for very long, does it? Because you don't keep your horn going constantly, so it doesn't have to be 100% rated. We can go for quite a low duty cycle. I don't think we're going to get to build the regulator today, but what we might be able to do is a little bit of maintenance on this thing, because I suspect it hasn't had any maintenance in a lot of years. So what the label said on it was that label there, wasn't it? Actually, this label. What it was telling us is we need to lubricate it with some light oil. And I think did it say felt pad, oil? Oh, it says oil every 2 months. Sorry, it says oil and clean communicator every 2 months. Okay, alright, okay. That's my crap reading skills there. You see, are you amazed at my ability to read a label? Actually, I'm struggling to read the label, it's very faded. So, we've got to carry out some maintenance on this. So, I can feel here, there's a felt washer. So, back in the day, that's what people used to use as the oil reservoir. So, there's a felt washer that's going to need some light oil on it. And there's also, I think that's a felt washer at the back here. Let me just find something to poke it with. Yeah, you can never find a poking stick when you want one, so is that felt? Yeah, so that's a piece of felt there, and there's another piece of felt there, so they're going to need a little bit of light oil lubrication on them. And I think we should also try and clean these up a little bit, and I'm guessing we might as well just use some switch cleaner to do that. It's actually pretty dirty, so we could do that now, couldn't we? So I've just got a bit of that very useful towel roll. Getting hard to get this towel roll stuff now. I used to be able to get it everywhere from you know, when all the toilets used to go in, they all used to have these towel roll hand dryers, but now everything's electric. But this towel roll is so useful for all kinds of things, and yeah, it's disappearing. The amount of these I've nicked from service stations, always good stuff, right? So we've cut ourselves some little lint bits of wadding there. Let's find some service salt. What I think we'll do is we'll give it a bit of a clean with IPA first, and then we'll finish up with some switch cleaner. And I think what I'm going to finish up using, I'm going to finish up using some of this deoxic product, and I'm going to use the one that they call the fader lube. So the fader one, it's got switch cleaner in it, but it also leaves more of an oily residue than standard switch cleaner. So we'll get most of the crid off using some IPA, and then we'll just give it a little bit of a squirt of this Deoxit 5. Yeah, it's pretty nasty stuff. I don't want to spray this IPA all over everything because I'm a little bit concerned about it maybe melting any of the lacquers or varnishes that are on the motor windings. They look as though they're kind of using, I'm going to say lintz wire, I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, we don't want to melt that stuff, do we? Because if we damage this motor stupidly, it's never going to come back again, I'm afraid. Ooh, that stuff is really very black and horrid. Can you see that? It's all coming off, all this black crud. Right, okay, so that's one swab that's pretty horrible, so best thing to do is take that off and let's get another one. Well, you know what? I've forgotten what you call these faucet things again. Is it dermatome or something? Come on, Sam. Sam, one of my subscribers. Every time I get these out, I have to ask Sam what they're called because I've got the memory of a goldfish, and Sam always leaves it in the comment. I want to call it a deraterm or something. Oh, I can't remember. Come on, Sam. Help me out, mate. What do you call these things? Not forceps, are they? They're something else. I wonder if we can actually run this. I bet we can if we just back off these a little bit. Okay, so hopefully that's cleaned off quite a lot. I can feel some little ridges on here. I suppose in a perfect world I might actually take that out and you know, clean it properly or sand it down and just resurface it. But I'm going to be a little bit cautious. I don't really know what I'm doing, and you know, on that basis, don't want to bugger it up. So I think I'm going to do the minimum. So squirt in some of this fader stuff. Okay, so that looks a bit better. Yeah, I definitely think that is running better now. Now, unfortunately, I don't think I've got any light oil in here, but we should probably put some on it, shouldn't we? Light oil. Do we think something like? Oh, I was going to call it 3-in-1. Do we think 3-in-1 oil would be the thing to use? That's a light oil, isn't it? I guess they mean something lighter than an engine oil. So yeah, so we won't put engine oil on. Let me see what I can find. I'm going to go nip into the garage and just have a quick look in my oil collection and let's see what we can find. Okay, so I've just been and found some trusty 3-in-1 oil, and I don't know if this is the perfect stuff to use. It just says use a light oil, and I'm guessing that this is a light oil. So I'm going to put some of that on there. Just wet the felt pad, let it soak in, and I'm guessing this probably hasn't been oiled in 50 years. So probably got a lot to soak up. If a bit of runs off it, then so much the better. I don't think we can over oil this thing. Okay, that's starting to run off now, so that must have absorbed as much as it wants to. So let's just oil this other one here. Okay, I can see it sucking that stuff up, so this felt is really dry. It's just going sucking in all that oil. Oh, I was going to say it's starting to run off now. Yeah, I think that's starting to run off now. So I don't think adding any more will really help us. I wonder what age this is. Unfortunately, it hasn't got any date on it. Just says 330 M11. Trademark registered. Lucas S. Spartan. Yeah, Lucas Spartan. That's what they call them on the car forums. They call them Spartan alarms. Spartan horns. Oh god, you can see it really is filthy. Yeah, I will. I'll clean that up off camera. So we've oiled all the parts now. I wonder if we actually have to put any oil on the communicator. I'll just read that again. Bearings. Oh, sorry. Oil bearings with light oil and clean communicator every 2 months. So that's the communicator. We've cleaned the communicator then, haven't we? Cleaned that with this deoxit. So we've followed the maintenance instructions there, haven't we? So that should all be good. Let's give it another go. So it's quite interesting that it's actually turned this nut. It is actually pushing the whole of the motor in. It's pushing it forward, which is just making the little wiper on the end of the motor. It's just forcing it against that little tit and striking it. So it's just a matter of moving it closer enough so it hits it. If you go too close, it'll probably stall the motor. Yeah, it sounds like a horn, doesn't it? Now I think that'll actually do for today. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit more cleaning and polishing on this, and after I've finished that, what we will do is I'm going to have a look at seeing how to build a little regulator, something just to drop that 12 volts to 6 volts. So I'll join you back in part 2 when we'll have a look at that. But I think for today that'll do. So thanks for watching, everybody, and I will hope to see you again very soon. But bye bye for now.